Hey everybody, Brady here with Bunker BS. Tonight we got a good episode coming down. Jason, Woody, and we brought Dylan on the screen. So hopefully tonight we get some leadership lessons. Dylan's a veteran. He's an entrepreneur. He's a program manager. He's a former country music artist and things like that. So hopefully this conversation can reach some folks out there and help you make some decisions, make some better decisions, help you through life, help you through the military or a business or whatever it is. So um, right now, I just want to kind of turn it over to Dylan. And Dylan, we warmed up a little bit before we came on, but why don't you go ahead and tell us just a little bit about yourself, like where you're from
Yeah,
and what you're all about, man?
absolutely. So Dylan Westmoreland, I am from a small town called Antlers, Oklahoma, population of about 2,000 people. And I joined the military at the age of 21. Before that, I'd worked in the oil field and at a call center and kind of went to like some part-time community college. In high school, I loved basketball. Loved basketball. My whole family was teachers at Antlers, so played basketball and was coached by my uncle. Um, but yeah, joined the military in Stillwater, Oklahoma in 2014. Um, the oil field started kind of taking a little bit of a dip, and I realized probably needed a little bit better plan than being a pipeliner or a labor hand on the pipeline. So I went to the recruiter's office. He was an amazing recruiter. Went through that process and actually, signed up in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and went to basic June 3rd of 2014 in the dead heat of San Antonio summer. So that was fun.
I doubt.
But yeah, no, it was definitely a pretty amazing experience. There's been several people throughout, the time I was in the military that really stood out to me, and definitely I think the NTIs was, the people that did stand out to me. Some of the people, Technical Sergeant Ortiz and Technical Sergeant King, I still remember them. I have them on my LinkedIn. But they was super good people, and they just really kind of pushed you through. But it was a pretty funny scenario because I've even told people this that have went in after me that you're gonna lay there in your bunk or that first night and be like, what did I get myself into? And if you didn't ask yourself that, I don't believe you. So, but I'm sure that y'all probably asked yourself the same thing. But I know when I did, I laid down in my bunk. I'm like, oh, this is real. This is actually a real thing. So,
Yeah, I would
uh,
agree. I think everybody probably asked the same question.
Oh, yeah,
right.
for sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, did that. It was like I said, a good experience. Still remember the graduation run. We actually, I think, was the first class to ever graduate out under the new RIFIC there in 2014. They had finally got that all built up. I was a part of the band flight, which is very funny because I, play guitar and stuff like that, and a singer, but had no idea I was going to be a part of the band flight there that actually played in the graduation. So that was fun. Got to do a lot of stuff with a lot of marching, with the band unit over there.
So,
But yeah,
hey,
graduated.
Dylan, real
Go
quick,
ahead.
what was your instrument in the band?
That was a drum. Yeah, like I was
Okay.
like, and it was funny because I remember asking Sergeant Ortiz. I was like, "Sir, I don't play this." He's like, I still remember this today. He's like, are you telling me you're too stupid that you can't play the drums?" So anyways, it was pretty funny because I was not expecting that. So especially with my background in music, that was definitely not what I was expecting. But yeah, so I had the drum. I still remember this day during the blues ceremony there, to where you played the instruments and they march out on the fields and everything. My freaking shoe come untied, so that was fun.
Oh,
Trying to drag my foot while I'm marching and try not to trip with the drums. So definitely then went over to security forces. That was my primary career field there. I went through that training. That was more what I thought basic was going to be like. It was quite a bit more intense. We had some good instructors there. I know Brady was he was over that piece there. So
yeah,
I really
we'll get into
yeah.
some of that here in a little while.
Yeah, but it was like I said, a great experience. And you know, then actually, the funny thing is, I'd actually traded orders because I was supposed to go to Barksdale, Louisiana, and actually traded orders to go to Effie Warren, which was definitely the best move ever. For me, from now looking back at it, it was the best move I could have done. But it was just off the wall. I had switched orders for Effie Warren, and
Okay,
yeah, went up there.
Dylan, I gotta stop you, man. What
Yeah,
would drive you to go to Northern Tier? What,
honestly,
like,
it was just one of them things. Everybody else was going to Northern Tier at that point in time. It was like everybody had. I was actually, it was pretty funny because I was like one of the only ones that didn't get Northern Tier. But then I switched because I'm like, well, everybody else is going, so I don't want to be the only one not going to Barksdale. So that's what I did.
Hey, that was the same reason I went to Korea in 1997. I was like, hey, everybody else is going. I might as well go too.
Yeah, I mean, it was split up. Minot and Effie Warren and Maelstrom was where everybody was going. So I think there was only a couple of people that didn't get it. And I switched with somebody. I think they had some family in Louisiana, so they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Me, I wanted to, try something new. I had never been out and really traveled anywhere, so Effie Warren was kind of perfect for me. And like I said, looking back, the people that I met at Effie Warren and the things that we did at Effie Warren was probably what shaped then my entire career, or the ability to go above and beyond my comfort zone. I feel like so, but yeah, went through that. Showed up to FE. So I was in dead of summer in the beat boot camp and dead of winter at FE. So got there in December it was December of
Ooh.
2014, and it
Ugh.
was cold. Yeah, super cold. So I didn't have. I remember I got there, didn't have my jacket or anything. You know what I mean? It was just ABUs. And I got out of my truck and I took a deep breath, and literally everything in my face froze. Like my nose hairs froze, and then like I was like dying carrying my boxes up the steps, like because I never been in elevation either. And I just remember dying going up them steps. I'm like, why am I so tired? This is crazy. So,
I thought you'd be ready to take a PT test first thing, man.
oh man, no, that not. I definitely couldn't have done it right off the bat for sure. We did, and I died. But yeah, no, it was definitely an experience of cold and not being able to breathe. But then I remember we're just going through like the onboarding, at the base, and and then basically telling you, now don't go try to like climb a bunch of mountains or anything. You're gonna have a heart attack. Like,
Did you go straight to big missiles? You went to big
no, so
missiles.
I was no, so I was actually a base cop. So I went to SFS.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I went to. So anyway, I did SFS for a little short period of time, and basically, Mr. Brady McCoy came through the gate. And I'd always either wanted to go TRF or convoys, and I know during that period of time it was kind of a weird time frame to where they was going to break it off and have QRF is kind of what they was going to do. And there was a commander, his name was Colonel Johnson, and he was a big General Westmoreland fan. And Brady McCoy came through the gate, and he was like, you ready to come TRF or convoys? And I was like, yes sir. And I had no idea that he was actually being serious. And so I so I get off shift, and I have my supervisor. Obviously, I'm an A1C and just barely brand new, and I have my senior airman supervisor. His name Anthony McCord, and I remember him asking. He was like, "Why did you jump chain of command?" Like, what are you talking about?
hey,
So,
that's classic
anyways,
security
like,
forces, man.
yeah, I was like, "Why did you jump chain of command?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Next thing I know, he's like, "Yeah, you're leaving for TRF or convoys tomorrow. You're showing up." And they're like, "Good luck. Don't fail." And I'm like, "Oh." So he was serious. So, anyways, I actually, yeah, I met the the Sergeant McCoy, and basically went over there and met Colonel Johnson the next day and showed up to convoys. So that was it was a
Yeah.
pretty awesome
So
experience. Yeah,
so let me break that down just a little bit more.
yeah.
Yes, that happened. But then I went into the squadron, and like he said, Colonel Johnson was he's a huge history guy to begin with, and I think I've told you guys he's kind of quirky a little bit, but in a phenomenal quirky way. And I went in and talked to him like, "Hey, boss, I met this kid on the gate. His last name's Westmoreland." He was like, "Westy? Like General Westmoreland? Is he a descendant?" I'm like, "I'm sure he is." He's like, "Get him in my squadron." So I'm pretty sure I walked straight down to and said, "Hey, we're hiring for CRF. We're short." And CRF and TRF were priority manning. So, you know, I could pick just about anybody I wanted, but I didn't do it all the time. And like he said, I didn't know it would happen that fast either. But Colonel Johnson was like, "I want him in my squadron. Make it happen." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." The rest is history.
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious because I definitely oh, I can't remember. I think his name was Sergeant Rapson, I think was the
Yep.
guy down
Roger
there. And
Rapson.
yeah, and anyways, I know that they was like, "Yep, you're leaving tomorrow. You're going over there." And I show up, and it was pretty funny. Definitely, I've never had that switch before, but hey, you know, it was a perfect thing for me because the training that we received over there was, I mean, to this day, for my time, the best training that we could have possibly have gotten. I went to some of them courses. This is before I think you got down there to 7 level in that group. So some of that, man, I saw some of them guys down there. I'm like, dude, like I don't know, man. Like we really got into it. But I don't know how long we would survive with some of these guys. So um but yeah, no, I mean, just the sheer training that we got, it was such a fun time. I think I can't remember how many convoys that we ran, but it was several hundred. And man, it was a fun time because we got to go to, you know, some of the convoy courses and stuff like that, learn a
Yeah.
lot. But yeah, it was a great time. But
So, are you a descendant of General Westmoreland?
so he is like some
Be
like
careful what you
distant
say. Colonel Johnson will be watching this.
yeah, a distant relative. Like he's is somewhere in there to where he's like a
Oh,
second cousin or something like that. On
that's
my
cool.
dad's side. But yeah, no, well, the same thing. It was happening in boot camp. I remember, like when I was in boot camp, they're like, man, what was his name? Sergeant Cochera. I remember him too. He was he was one of my BMT instructors, and he was just like super amped. Like this dude, like freaking like chugged a monster right before he came in every morning or something. And he's like, Westmoreland. He's like, "Are you kidding, General Westmoreland?" And you know, and obviously the sir training reports is like whatever, you know, the line we had to do. And I was like, yeah, he's a cousin or something like that. And he's like, he was a manimal. He was a man and animal. But I really, yeah, he was, but they was like trying to. It was so funny that they asked all these questions because they thought somebody was going to come from the family or something like that. I'm like, he's been dead since like 2009 or eight. Like he's been gone for a long time. So, but I was like, no, absolutely not. But yeah, it was pretty funny. That caused a little bit of a stir. But then, yeah, I've never seen tech sergeants and senior airmen get so thought completely went straight to Sergeant McCoy and was like, I want a unit switch today, like it was gonna happen.
Hey, you should have told me that when you got up there, and I would have went down and talked to those guys because
uh,
Rapson and I, we were stationed together at Kirtland, so we knew each other well before Effie Warren.
yeah,
That would have been funny. That would have been fun, actually.
yeah. No, it was a great time though. Still, it was funny too because some of the guys, like when I got deployed to PSAB. So after that, I was basically there to 2018. Into 2018, I got orders to Langley, Virginia, and went there. It was basically base security, just your patrol. Wasn't a huge fan, especially after coming from convoys. Wasn't my favorite thing to do. But I wasn't there very long before we deployed. So we deployed with the 820th and got stood up the base over there in PSAB. So the 820th had got there a little bit before we did, I think in the summertime, and then like late summertime, and then we got there in like no early December is when we got there at PSAB, and then the 820th was there standing up that base there in 2019. and we stayed there till July of 2020. Because that's when COVID happened, and it was a whole it's a whole different
Oh,
world when we came
yeah.
back. It was like kind of weird. But yeah, so we was there, stood at that base, and I think that was another fun. That was a fun deployment because it was like bare. I mean, there was like nothing there when we got there.
In PSAP, there was nothing.
There was like no, there was like barely anything there when we got there.
That is
Because
crazy. Because
yeah, because
that's where
PSAP used to be huge.
that's where
Yeah.
JCH and I were back in '99, 2000.
Yeah, because
They
I think
had dorms and everything.
yeah, they gave it back to the Saudi government. So they gave it back to the Saudi government, and we have like this 2 mile square dirt hole over there to where we had they was like, you had all the CE guys over there. They was building it back up. I'll have to send you pictures, Brady, of it, because I mean it was like
Yeah,
there
that'd
was
be
nothing there.
interesting.
We got there. There was some tents there. I mean, it was tent city there, but there wasn't
Wow.
even that many tents when we got there, man. It was like they had like the gym area, like this big old huge tent for the gym, but that's like where they checked everybody in and everything like that. And then they had probably 20 or 30 tents to where everybody was sleeping in. Because I think when we got there might have been like 500-600 people there. There wasn't very many people.
Yeah, it was definitely different when we were there in '99. I mean,
Yeah,
there was
it
thousands
was
of people
huge. Yeah, it's
there.
huge.
Yeah. Pick a
Yeah, because
pick
I
a type of
mean,
plane, we had it on the flight line, like, it was massive.
yeah. Well, that was the whole reason why we was there, is to be able to react there to Iran, But but yeah, I think the F-15s there was there. That was their whole thing, was to provide security there on the airfield. But the distance that I mean, it took 20 minutes to get from the LSA to the airfield, like from a bus. Like it took forever. It was a gigantic base. I think somebody said that base was like so big that it would take like what 2.5 hours to drive around
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was big. Yeah. Um, but yeah, no. So and I was deployed there. I think Ozzy. I know he just retired out of OSI in that group, but he was there with OSI. He got there at the end of my deployment, so it was kind of cool to see him again. But yeah, no, it was we when we left, we was leaving. All the Marines they was getting there, and then the Army guys, they was there. It was pretty funny to see the Army guys because they was out there. They had Patriot missile sites out there,
Yeah.
but we was the only people that actually carried like full combat loads of camo. These Army guys, they'd be running around with their 249s and stuff with no ammo, and they would and it was pretty funny. And then they would do a trade-off, like at the Patriot missiles, they would go and like do their basically changeover, and they would trade mags. So they would like hand over the mag to the next guy that came over. They didn't have their own mags. They had one mag, and then they would basically do their changeover and hand them a mag. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
like if something ever happened, you'd run out of that mag so fast, like to be all you had. But yeah, no, it was a fun deployment. It was the food obviously was terrible. It was probably the most expeditionary, probably one that I think could have
It
happened at
it
that point.
sounds so much like my first deployment to Qatar in 1996. When we landed in Qatar, it was like you said, a dirt
Yeah,
hole, and that was it.
yeah,
I spent, I don't know, 16 hours a day for 60 days straight just filling sandbags because we had to build up, of course. But sounds so much like when I first went to Qatar. That is crazy, though.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
it was like,
it's
and the
crazy too, though,
820th had a
because
lot.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
sorry, man.
sorry.
Well, no, it's just
The
crazy because it
820th, I'm
was
sure,
so
did a
built
lot of
up.
the. Oh, my bad.
Well,
You go.
it is crazy that it was so built up. I mean, the Army had a really big footprint. We had a massive footprint, and then to start almost over from scratch.
Yeah,
And I did
that
2 tours
Yep,
there.
blows my mind.
yep. Yeah, no, it's all. It's now. I think when I left, I think it was like I said, July. It was like they had probably about 3,000 people there. I mean, it was like they really like pushed it to get built up as quick as possible.
Yeah,
Because I know the Houthis in that group, they was being stupid over there, and they was doing their drone stuff over there. And obviously, you had Riyadh that wasn't very far away, but then there was another army base that was just up the road about 35 minutes. That was just right. right there. That was that. Now that was more built up. But yeah, basically we turned it over to the Saudi government, and all the Saudis had taken over them living spaces, basically that whole, Royal Air Force over there and their families and stuff. But yeah, it was a very interesting. And before COVID hit, we was actually able to go to like the little shopette there, because it was away from our LSA, so we'd have to go to the LSA and go to like their little shop area there. And they also had like a little making place over there. But man, these kids would be whipping the Mercedes and the different their parents' cars. They could have been more than 12 or 13, just driving their cars the cars around.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
but then they had checkpoints all over the place. They had
Yeah.
I'm sure, did they have that when y'all was over there? Like, did they have the checkpoints over there?
Oh yeah, like
From the
out on the main roads and whatnot. Is
Yeah,
that what you're talking about? Yeah.
yeah,
At least I saw them. I don't know about Jason.
yeah. Because they would even when we drive the bus, out there to the airfield from the LSA and go out there. There'd be like random checks, right? That they would stop us and then, just basically pop on, with their guns or whatever, and just look and then pop out and be like, oh, you're good to go. I think the most awkward, I only had like a couple awkward scenarios there because obviously you can't speak Arabic. So we was in a patrol truck out there, and I was on patrol in a soft vehicle, and there was two guys with their little Tacomas or whatever that they drove around with, their stuff mounted in the back. It was pulled over, and there was two guys, because they would basically have these people out in like different areas that they would like post up at, I guess, like pull security. But they've waved us down. So, I'm so used to them basically checking the vehicles because we have guns, right? We're on the base, and we're driving around to our security post. It was me, an A1 senior airman, and an A1C. Yeah, the A1C was, the 249 gunner, and then the senior airman had his grenade launcher or his 320 or whatever. And I pull over, and he's like tapping on the window. So I roll it down, and he was like speaking Arabic, and obviously I don't know what he's saying. So I'm thinking he like wants to like check the truck. So I unlock the vehicle, and this dude on the other side, because there's two guys, the other guy walked around, he opened the door and hopped in. So he just
They
hops
just
in the
needed
truck.
a ride.
And I'm just, yeah, he just needed a ride. But me, I'm like, we have no idea this is what this guy needs. And me and the senior airman, I'm the staff sergeant over there, and he just hops in, and I'm like, oh crap, because like, what are we gonna do? Drag him out? Like, that's probably not a good idea either. We're gonna cause an international incident. So anyways, he's just like speaking. He's like pointing up the road. I'm like, okay. And this base, like I said, is, y'all know it's huge. This base is big. So we're driving, I'm going about 55, and he's like, well, basically saying up the road, and I'm just cruising along. I'm like, kind of start getting nervous. I'm like, okay, all right, this is taking a little bit to get here.
Yeah,
So I turn back
where's he
around.
taking us?
Yeah, I'm like, so anyways, so he pointing up the road a little bit, and I finally got nervous, and I turned back around. And I said, this much, and I'm dropping you off here. And he was like, no, it's just right up here. So anyways, it was a water station, basically a water station where he was at pulling security at, and he gets out. But man, my senior airman was like, don't ever do that again. I didn't mean to do
Dylan
that.
dropped him off at his post.
Yeah. But I guess the truck had broke down. I don't know what it was, but yeah,
He
he
just
needed
needed
a
a
ride.
drink of water.
Man, he just hopped in the back, acting like it was no thing, and I'm like, oh god. So we're gonna have an international incident over here. It's good. But yeah, that was the funniest part, I think.
Yeah.
That I experienced over there.
So the Bunker BS podcast, man, is really about that exactly. Stories of experiences that we tell these stories, on these podcasts, and hopefully there's some type of lesson there, like don't pick up strangers on the road.
Yeah,
or,
don't let them get in your car, right?
Yeah.
you know,
In a foreign
things like
country.
that. Don't in a foreign country, but ultimately what we're trying to do, Dylan, is we're just trying to put, lessons learned, leadership lessons, successes, failures. It doesn't necessarily have to be just military. I mean, how old are you now?
33.
33 years old. You've got some experience under your belt now where
Yep.
when you joined the military and you got the basic training, I mean, a lot of things, we all evolve, right? So I
Yep.
am not the same person I was when you met me, and I wasn't the same person, 10 years before that. So, and that's really, why we wanted to do this podcast. Wanted to have fun, laugh, joke, tell crazy stories, to give people something to think about. And then also on a more serious note, but not like knife hand serious, is,
Right.
give the younger folks out there, some lessons learned that may help them as they're navigating their path through, you know, maybe they're getting ready to graduate basic and they want to swap or something, or there's, all those things that we've learned that we may or may not have gotten on our path going up is basically what Bunker BS is all about. And at the end of the day, it's real talk. So I hope my hope for this podcast is, and that's in one of the primary reasons I brought you on, is because I know you're a real person, not like physically real, but
Yep.
you're not going to make up a bunch of shit and tell a bunch of crap that isn't factual, that really
Yep.
you're not going to blow smoke up people's hind end. So, and that's really the gist of Bunker BS. So, um, on that same note, on that token, everybody has an identity. Everybody has gone through changes and evolved, like I said. And one of the questions I had come up with that I wanted to ask you is, at this point in your life, you've been an airman, you've been a security forces NCO, you've done country music, you're a program manager at Boeing, and you're an entrepreneur, which I think is pretty cool. But what I've been wanting to ask you is, which version of yourself throughout those different things taught you the lesson that you still rely on the most every day?
Yeah. No, I think definitely being an NCO, and being leading people and being able to make decisions when decision making is hard. Um, Being able to adapt and overcome, right? Because the military, as y'all know, it teaches you multiple different skills, and that's the reason why veterans, and I'll get more into it, are so much. They're so well rounded. Now, first things first, right? And this is what because I'll do like mentorship and stuff at like a place called Seven Eagle. Like I'll basically mentor different veterans and stuff getting out, transitioning out of the military. And one thing I always say is not every veteran's the same. And I
Yep.
think once people realize that, that's like you said, you got to keep it real, right? Not every veteran's the same, and there's always going to be, I guess you can call them haters, or like people that are going to try to kill your energy, right?
Yep.
And that's something that I have learned, and I think I learned a lot of it in the military, from different experiences, is you can't let somebody kill the energy or kill your drive, right? And that's where I learned how to do that at, was being an NCO in the military, different scenarios, not letting people get me down or let people discourage me, just keep going, right? To whether it was, when I was in the military, I know, like I said, Brady has a pretty good history of me being an FE, but I was always in school. Like as soon as I could take school, I was in school. I finished my bachelor's, or my CCAF, my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, before I even got out of the military. And then finished the second master's degree when I got out. And then I'm almost finishing up my doctorate degree. But it's like one of these things of where it's like that drive and that passion to just keep going to the next thing that doesn't stop in the military. It just doesn't. And if somebody getting out of the military or transitioning out needs to hear that, like that's probably the biggest piece of advice is I can give them, is don't lose that momentum and that drive. Because I've seen a lot of people get out, and that's what really kind of drove me even into, at Fuse Solutions, where I was at for 5.5 years out of the military. I started off as a program manager there and worked my way up to a director of strategy, growth and delivery there at the company. It's a small consulting firm. We did, supply chain logistics and technology, stuff like that. But that's what I would even tell the people there, mentoring them, because there's about 30 people that I manage there. But it was like more like, hey, you can't lose that motivation. You got to come into work motivated. You can't let this negative energy, because there's always going to be somebody that has a negative, some sort of
Always,
negative energy. It
always.
doesn't matter where you're at. You could be a billionaire and there's somebody who's going to have negative energy, right? So you just can't let that get you down. And being a transformational leader, going throughout school, and you see it in all different levels of leadership, is being a transformational leader, right? Because that to me is the most impactful type of leader you can be, is being a transformational leader, showing somebody how to get there, right? If somebody messes up, not destroying them every single time they mess up, right? But being like, have a proactive solution to that problem, right? Like I said, not everybody's going to be able to take that proactive solution and execute. But for me, that's what took me to the next level. I think as a leader is, one, I got the baseline in the military, and as an NCO, it almost, it was, getting out of the military is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't, I almost felt like I'd, like, I guess cheated on the Air Force. You know what I mean? Like I'd got out, but it was more like, okay, it was time for me at that point in time to like go to the next level doing something else. Right. And to really challenge myself. Okay, I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to go try this out. Right. And then even if you fail, and I don't even consider failing something necessarily a failure. It's a lesson.
Right.
And then you've been able to take that and move on, because if people think that it's always going to be sunshine and roses and you're not going to fail, man, they got a rude awakening coming for sure, because you're going to fail 100 times before you ever succeed at anything. But yeah, no, so definitely, to answer your questions, the military is what gave me the baseline, to give me them skills. And then I think definitely at Fuse, it taught me how to execute, and execute at a very high level, because the people I would be engaged with were very high level executives within a Fortune 50 company. Extremely, I mean, some of the stuff that they would call me into was very high touch. So it was pretty cool to see, um, like you said, not blowing smoke, but being able to be very clear of what the goals were, what your timelines were. And the only way and you can, it's so clear, you can see the difference in people that have had to do them types of or had to execute that type of
Right.
expectation versus, a civilian straight out of like Harvard or Duke University, right? Like I would, and that's just me being cocky. I would run circles around them guys all day long if
Sure.
if they've never been into a situation like that. And I feel like that's where the military will help you stand out. Now, saying that, you have these skills, right? Now, how are you gonna go apply them? That's what I've learned over the course of my time.
Hey Dylan, I'm really curious, man. I think it's really neat that you was in the oil fields beforehand, but how
Yep.
did that how did that going from something, I'm assuming that was a pretty difficult, tough job, and then
Yep.
going to a different type of, hard, was that an easy thing, or was it like, no,
I
this
think it
this doesn't hold a candle?
No, I think no, I think it prepared me for the type of like the engagement of, like, MTIs in your face type scenario. Because I mean, my my leaders on the oil field, I never forget him, man, and I'll see him to this day. His name is Cheesy, is what they called it. It was his nickname, and that dude, man,
Cheesy.
he would be, I mean, I just remember his hat being, like his hard hat being kind of sideways. He always had this head thing going on. And man, he was just amped. But he would do it for a reason, though. Like he was on you for a reason, because he didn't want you to get killed out there. I mean, there was stupid accidents that would happen. And, the crew I was with, I mean, never really got any accidents. And I remember when they did get an accident, I've seen him one time fire, I don't know how many people on the spot one time. Heck, half the people didn't even know what happened. They just got rid of the whole crew.
Mm.
And I just happened to not be on that crew that day. So, but yeah, it was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, I think that's what it prepared me for, was that that engagement from the MTIs, where if somebody was right in your face, it didn't really rattle me as much, I feel like. in my opinion. But it was definitely not like the physical aspect. Yes, it was very physical, but the military is a different type of physical. It really is, in my opinion. Well, especially when you start getting the more of the gear type stuff carrying around.
Well, being that working in the oil fields, sounds, because it is so dangerous, I would think it would be a very detail oriented job.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, for me personally, I'd never heard the phrase attention to detail until I joined the military.
Yeah.
So did your background in the oil fields, help you with that attention to detail side on the military? Did that put
For
you,
sure.
give you a leg up?
Yeah, I think too, because it was like little things. One of the probably the things that stick to this day stick out to me the most was when we'd move pipe down the line. You'd have these 2,000 pound or 3,000 pound pieces of pipe, and they'd basically lift it up with a boom, and you'd kind of guide it. But just simple stuff, not putting your hand inside the pipe, because if they stop
Yeah.
that boom, it's going to hit, and it could literally cut your fingers off.
Yeah.
But just little stuff like that where, I mean, he'd be constantly, I remember Cheesy, he'd be falling behind it. Westmoreland, Dylan, get your freaking hand out of there. Of course, that was not really what he was saying, but anyways, it got to the point to where you looked at little stuff like that, to where, little things. I mean, you could lose a finger, you could lose a hand. But it's the same thing in the military. You don't check your rounds or have your water or little stuff like you end up getting hurt. So definitely, I feel like it probably did. At
I
the
don't want to
time, I
go.
wasn't thinking of that, but it probably definitely did.
Yeah, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but were you in CRF when the young man shot the helicopter pilot?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Man, I was ticked too, because man, I just started flying, man. I was like, I had my first flight with Colonel Johnson, and I was enjoying it, and then that happened. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that was chaos beyond chaos.
yeah.
But again, that's a podcast I did a while back. Woody had to he had to listen to me tell that story, and but that's was a great story for all the wrong reasons, but but nonetheless a
I,
great story.
I'll still never forget. I will bring this up. I was being at attention for like 4 hours that one day in Blues, and it was. I look back now how hilarious that was, because it was like the tech's starting to come in, the masters starting to come in, the senior masters starting to come in, the chief. I mean, it was just a back to back to back. And then Colonel, finally came in there, and I can't remember. I think some dude fell out or something like that. Are you freaking kidding me? We can't stand at attention. It
I'm
was,
telling you, Colonel Johnson was no joke, man.
oh, I loved it. It was.
But one of
I
the
look back
best.
at it now. It was so funny. It was a great story, but it was a terrible, terrible thing. But anyways, but yeah, that part I remember distinctly being hilarious. Because are you freaking kidding me? But oh
Hey, Dylan, real quick, before we move too far from PSAB, you were talking about PSAB a couple minutes ago, and then kind of transitioned into talking about your time as an NCO and how that's helped you grow and develop over the years. But at PSAB, it doesn't matter where you deploy. Inevitably, when something can go wrong, that's when it'll go wrong. Someone's going to have a relative pass away. Somebody's wife is going to cheat on them. The bill collectors are going to track them down to PSAB. Somebody's going to get homesick and have a freak out. What kind of personnel issues did you have to deal with over there that maybe you weren't expecting that otherwise would not have manifested back at Langley?
yeah, I think one of the one of the ones that kind of stick out to me. Luckily, nobody was hurt, but they had flipped one of the Mat V's over there, and how. I mean, by the grace of God, nobody got killed. To be honest with you, because the Mat V's, they got what was it, the battery pack or the communications thing
Yeah.
that's right in the middle, and you know the person that was driving probably shouldn't have been driving. And anyway, I was off that night for some reason, and basically, I guess they got too close to the edge, and the tires are just so big it'll just drag you off to the side, basically. kind of like an ATV, or if you're not used to driving anything like that. And I mean, they was going way too fast. I think they had to been going 30 or 40 miles an hour. And it drug them off in the sand. They flipped it.
Mm.
And they didn't have, the person didn't have their kit on. And somehow the driver or the passenger went through like that little crack between the ceiling and ended up on top of the driver. I mean, it looked like he got beat the crap, but just that, and a couple of the members, I think they was on my team from Langley. So, but yeah, they got beat up pretty bad. But yeah, that was one of the personnel issues. But then saw some other people that wasn't on the team. Got served divorce papers through the mail out
Yeah.
there. It's pretty insane. And then COVID in general, right? So COVID happened, and it was just an absolute, crap show as far as what was going on in the States. You know what I mean? Comparable. I mean, it was just a whole bunch of stuff. If you remember back in, I won't get into all the stuff that was going on during that period of time, but with the police officers and stuff like that happening back on base, and it was just a whole plethora of things that was going on in the country, in the U.S. versus over here. We're just deployment. We're doing our jobs. Going to our tent, working out. Things like that. We're not really too worried about what's going on back home, but that just kind of elevated it to where people were, and people could end up getting hurt, because they wasn't paying attention to what the mission was out there. So luckily, nothing like that really occurred. There was a couple of scenarios out there, but it was more like people probing over there. But everybody was pretty on pretty high alert because it was new. So I'm sure that they was trying to like see how we reacted to certain things. But yeah, the environment was very weird because of COVID, because of the heightened stuff with the George Floyd incident over there. The police presence, COVID, Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah,
I mean, it
that's
was just
right.
a whole weird a whole weird time frame over there. But luckily we had a really good team. We had some pretty good leadership over there too, so it wasn't a terrible deployment by any means. But it was, like I said, a pretty fun experience for me, because it was like it was like a big long camping trip basically. So out in the desert. So
Yeah, that's kind of what Qatar was too. We had 13-person Darnell tents, and our team, or the number of people that were in our tent, was like 18. I made some of the best friends of my
yeah,
life on that deployment to Qatar. I can't remember his last name now, but a guy named Rocky was beside me, and he's the guy I traded CDs with him, and he traded me a Mazzy Star purple CD for something else. I don't remember what I gave him, but to this day, every time I listen to Mazzy Star, it was because we were in that camping tent in the middle of the desert doing nothing but just bonding.
yeah. For it, and that was like we was all intense too over there. So yeah, everybody. I mean, that sucker was. I mean, they was packed to the brim with people, right? I mean, it was like everybody was in there. Luckily, we had bunk beds and we wasn't on no cots or anything like that. But and honestly, some of the best sleep I think I've ever gotten, to be honest with you, over there, because like them sandstorms would hit kind of like during like mid afternoon or even at night, and he would just kind of like rock you to sleep almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. I had my guitar over there, and I'll kind of transition into some of the country stuff. And that was a fun time. I got to record stuff. That's actually what one of the videos that got me on American Idol was. I did an audition video in PSAB, and that submitted it, and somehow got picked up on American Idol by some luck, and almost missed it. To be honest with you, because I wasn't checking emails over there, and I just got on my Gmail one day, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute!" It was somebody from American Idol wanted to do like an audition with me, and I was like, "Hey guys, like, I'll be back here in the next month or so. It might be better if we do this when I get back, because the connection was kind of spotty over there." But yeah, no, I submitted I was playing a bunch of videos. I was really into country music, really going to try to make it big. and that was one of the big reasons why I did get out of the military, was to give that a go, and I moved to Texas, because the Texas music scene is a pretty awesome scene here in Texas. So, but
So one,
yeah.
I thought it was really cool hearing that. And one of my favorite things about deployments, I'm not a country music fan. However, there was always someone who had a guitar and would sit out
Yeah.
by the smoke pit or at a gazebo or whatever, and that was one of the best times, is hanging out and listening to someone play naturally. Is that a thing you would do just on
Oh yeah.
downtime?
Yeah. So as we got built up, they had like this area. It was like next to the gym, but it was like it was where you would go and like kind of like hang out. You know, people would play their video games and stuff like that. But we do like a little talent shows or whatever, and it was pretty cool. So I wasn't the only one that brought a guitar. There's a lot of talented people out there, but it was very fun to where I'd hang outside the tent or whatever and play guitar, be out there by the fire. There was always a bonfire going on out there every night, and it was a fun time. So, but yeah, no, all the time was playing guitar. I'm sure I pissed a lot of people off too, because I was on the night shift. So when people trying to sleep during the day, I'd be out there playing guitar or
Hey,
something
they
like
were
that.
sleeping. They were sleeping.
Right. But
Hey, I'm curious, man. At PSAP, did they still have Al's Garage? Do you remember that big rock, Brady?
Oh,
No,
yes, I do. Now I do,
it
yeah.
was. I can't remember if it was the motor pool or not, but it was a massive rock that said Al's Garage. Was that the thing,
yeah,
or
I
had
have
that
no
gone?
idea. Now there was, I don't know if it was there when y'all was there, but it was off our living area, but it was like this like hill area to where you could actually go and like climb up to, and it had like, I'll have to send a picture of it, but it had like USA, and like you could overlook the desert or whatever, but it had like USA it written in rocks on the
Yeah.
ground. It was super awesome. But it was in the desert, as silly as it was or crappy as it was sometimes. I mean, it had its own beauty.
Uh,
It was very interesting. I loved it. And I wish, honestly, I'd like to go back, just to even even though it's not probably the best thing to do, but like it honestly be kind of cool to go back and see what it looks like now. But it was such a kind of a cool, eerie, I guess, holy feeling, I guess, being in the desert over there. So
yeah, there was a spot, Brady. I don't know if you remember. It was in Alpha Land at the end of the runway that overlooked all of PSAP. And one of my favorite things when I was posted out there is we'd watch the sunrise. Like we'd all line up on the
oh
edge
yeah.
of that little cliff, and you could see the whole airfield and everything, and just watch the
Oh yeah.
sunrise.
I know what you're talking about. I do
Yeah,
know what you're talking
that,
about, because we'd pull security and be able to oversee everything, like kind of
yeah,
over there. Yeah.
yeah. Back in that day, man, we had a 60 pit up there, so that was like just one of the posts.
Yeah.
But sorry, man, I just
No,
back to this American Idol thing. That
yeah, no, so went did that, and that's not what you see on TV, obviously, as most people know. It's just, it's one of them things where you go through about 10 rounds of auditions. I did several different video auditions, met with different people, and the background check on American Idol is worse than the secret clearance in the military. I mean, you had a stack of papers like this thick that you had to go and fill out. And but yeah, it was insane. But yeah, it was super cool. But it was during COVID, so it was a weird experience again.
Uh,
So there was 300 people, and even think that I got a shot at it with 300 people, because that was all that came.
where were you when you did it?
San Diego.
Okay.
So they flew me out to San Diego. I did it, like did the auditions. It was broken up. There's 300 people and they had 3 days. So basically, like, your Ryan Seacrest was there, Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie. They was the judges. And what you would do is you'd practice, do different, filming clips and stuff like that throughout your days or whatever, and then you would go into your audition days. And it was a week time frame. So I flew up there, and when I flew up there, there was this guy sitting beside me, and he was sick. And it was man, it was just a weird thing. The dude was weird, man. And he was like coughing and hacking, and like
Of
he kept
course.
like falling asleep and was like falling asleep and would like lay on my shoulder. And I'm like, dude, like get off me. You know what I'm saying?
You didn't
And
know the
like,
guy?
yeah, like I'm in a middle, and I'm a big guy. So I'm about 6'3", 240, you know what I mean? So like, I'm right in the middle of the seat here. And like, I'm just kind of crunched up and this dude kept like nodding off on my shoulder. And I'm like, dude, like, come on. So anyways, went through the filming and stuff, and my audition was the third day, because my last name Westmoreland being a W, and I got COVID. So they had tested you all through the show. Like, I mean, it was like every day they test you, and I tested. I woke up that third day, and I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me!" And it was like I was like cotton mouth because I think I'd had COVID maybe back in PSAB before, but it was like upper respiratory um feeling, you know what I mean? Like just kind
Yeah.
of an upper respiratory infection. But this was a little bit different, like couldn't smell nothing. Like I was super cotton mouth. Like every time I drink the water, I just could not get that thirst, just couldn't quench the thirst. And when you're trying to sing something, trying to be cotton mouth and sing it is not ideal at all. Um so anyways, I that when they zipped you right in there. As soon as you woke up, it was like 8 o'clock. They zipped you right in there to get tested with COVID, and then they didn't even let you. There was no like chance to like warm up vocals or anything. They like moved you right from that room because everybody was so hesitant with COVID on what you could and couldn't do. Right there to like the lineup to go and meet the judges, and then Ryan Seacrest was there. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure I was like I knew I probably had COVID, and they definitely didn't show my audition on camera. I'll just say that since we was like I was in proximity of these people and had it, but didn't know. So met talked to Ryan Seacrest, and basically I got bumped right in there to the judges, and it was what you see on TV during that period of time. I don't know how they made it look so close or what, but it was like the mics that they like dropped down, and you can see some of the audition tapes. You can kind of see the mic come down from the top or
Yeah.
whatever, but it was actually a microphone. Like it wasn't like a TV mic, like where they was trying to pick up your sound better, but it was an actual like microphone where you talked in it. It actually projected the volume out, which took me completely off guard. I was not expecting that. So it was like when you talked, it was like you was booming through the room, and you're like, "Oh, whoa, my bad." But anyways, but the judges were like a long ways back from you. But it was a long ways away, obviously, because of COVID going on. It wasn't like they show you like in the scenes where it's like super close. I don't know how they did it on the screen, but they shrink it in and make it look a lot closer. But I auditioned, I did an original song, and then they asked me to do another one, and that definitely threw me off because I'm like pretty much in a fuzz right at this point because I feel like crap, and I've done a song I probably shouldn't have done, and anyways, didn't make it to Hollywood. Um, and Luke Bryan was like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "I'm 29, man." He's like, "Katie." He's like, "He's 29. Well, you might, Katie's like, "Well, I just wish you would have come on last year." And I'm like, "Dude, like, I don't think you just come on to the show. It isn't like you just make it
Yeah.
to this round. You know what I mean? Like, I've done it before several times." But yeah, no, went out there and um, talked to Ryan Seacrest, and I was walking away and forgot I still had the lapel mic because he was like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And during that period, got out to be reserves, but EOD. So that's a different story there. But I'd completely switched career fields and went EOD because that during that time frame at Lang, I don't know, maybe it was a whole Air Force wide thing, but they kind of shut down to where you could like cross train into different career fields because of COVID. I don't know with boot camp or basic. I don't know with like pushing people through the pipeline or whatever to get through. So the only way to switch career fields that they said was to get completely out and go reserve. You're literally security forces one day, you sign a contract and you have a different job code and you go to your base and go to your school. So I was trying to finagle my way around that because I was trying to switch career fields. And that was one of the things when I got out civilian. The goal was actually never to get out of the military. I got finagled and I got myself completely out. But anyways, it was never to actually get out. It was to switch career fields, go reserve at DFW Nas Air Force Base, go EOD, and then come back active duty was actually what I was trying to do because it was a low man career field. Anyways, didn't work out. I got to the reserve base, and anyways, basically they said it's a year stint to where I was supposed to go like as soon as I got there to the school, and they was like, "Oh, it's going to be bumped back a year." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I can't do that." So I ended up getting completely out of the military at that point. But during the show, Ron Seacrest was like, "Hey, what do you know, what your plan is?" And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm going to go to, EOD school or whatever and, try this route." And I remember walking off and I had my lapel mic on. I was like, I said, "You watch." I said, "I bet I freaking have COVID." And like everybody went, turned around and looked at me because, obviously the camera people can hear you talk in the microphone. But yeah, no, so a couple hours later, they actually came back and, yeah, I had COVID. I was positive. So there's like, you can't leave your room. And, anyways, but yeah, it was a whole weird, we ended up driving all the way back. Because they wouldn't let me fly. And I was like, well, I can't stay here for another 2 weeks. Like I can't be here that long because I was about to, get out of the military from active duty. And so we drove all the way from San Diego, California to Hampton, Virginia, like literally coast to coast. It was a pretty, if I wouldn't have had COVID, it would have been a great time. Yeah, it'd have
You
been
said
actually a
you
cool road
said
trip.
we drove. Who's we?
My
Oh,
wife
okay.
and I. So yeah,
All right.
so she's a nurse. But it was real weird. But, but basically they wouldn't let us fly, but since she was a nurse and didn't have COVID, they gave us an envelope of like $800 in it. It was like, go rent a car. And we went and rented a car and a Toyota Camry and we drove all the way back.
Wow.
Why we did that, I have no idea. We should have went right to the airport, bought a plane ticket, and got on the plane. That's what we should have done. But during that period, it was such a weird time. Like
Yeah.
none of us knew what was going on. So we just kind of abided. But we had a full on literally cross country road trip coast to coast. It was pretty cool.
So that experience, with that whole thing you just described,
Yeah.
if and they will be, whether they do immediately or not, but like if there's a young trooper out there listening or somebody listening, like what did that teach you about not necessarily failure, but what
Yep.
did it teach you about failure and resiliency? Because I
I
know for
mean,
a fact that was a
yep.
huge thing for you.
Oh yeah, no, it was huge. I mean, just but it was one of the things. Of course, I was very upset because you start second guessing yourself, right? On like, dang, I should have done. I knew immediately I should have done like a Creedence Clearwater song, like something that like really showed off the vocals, right? So, but during the time frame, that's what you'll do is you'll start second guessing yourself, or like say you're testing for the next rank or whatever it is, you don't make it, you're like, man, I should have studied for 15 minutes longer a night,
Yeah.
or whatever it was, or and it's just a constant, like my whole career I feel like was full of like little blips of like I'd get close to something and then I'd get yanked, close yanked the whole time. And but what it did was is it taught me to, okay, well, what's my next plan? But always not, and I don't say, I hear these people that say, oh, well, don't have a plan B and stuff like that. I'm not saying that you always got to have a plan B, but you got to be able to know where you're gonna, pick up and go to next. Like you can't just be stagnant and let that rule your life. Cause I've seen that way
Yeah.
too many times with people. Is like, oh well, I didn't get this, so I guess I'm not ever gonna get anything. I'm just like, oh, woe is me. You know what I mean? Like, dude, get over that, move on to the next thing. So
Yeah.
I when moved to Texas, and I played a lot of shows. I played a little over 50 shows my first year. But that's when I really realized, and it was a blessing that I didn't make that, because the lifestyle is a very, first of all, being a cop, um, people do drugs in the music industry, and they drink a lot, things like that, and that really, I just didn't like surrounding myself with people like that, and
Yeah.
it just is a weird, you definitely have to be built for that type of lifestyle, the traveling, the drinking, people are going to be doing drugs around you. It's not you're going to go from location to location to location, and it's not necessarily like something that's sustainable unless you hit it off. And that's when I really like started thinking, okay, it's kind of like the pipeline, right? Same scenario, to where you can make real good money in it. It's fun to do, but unless you're in some type of big organization like an oil company, working for an oil company, if you're just working for one of these, rig company, it might not be the best long-term solution, right? Or you're going to find yourself at 65 years old or 55 years old in a bar somewhere playing music, and never have made it to where you need to make it at. So me being more of a strategic mind, I was like, this probably is not necessarily where I need to put my focus on, and I need to like move towards, business. And then I got the job with Fuse, and as a program manager, and I was over the packaging materials there, so of the distribution section as a consultant there for Boeing. And we managed all the materials for like the tapes, the labels, the boxes, the bubbles, anything to help that material get out the door quicker to the customer. And that's what I managed. And then that is when I realized that's when I first got thrown actual something that I had no idea what I was doing and had to figure it out. And all the stuff I'd learned of being able to pick myself up, that's when it actually came in handy, is like not to let it, get me down. And I just kept, working towards that. But yeah, because that was a pretty big thing I had to learn. Because at the time when you get out of the military, and that's what actually led me to build Vet Connect. Was
That was going to be my
Yeah,
transition. So perfect,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So Vet Connect really came from that when I got out of the military, of job search, right? So TAPS itself, and I'll just be candid. To me, TAPS is garbage.
Yep.
It to me is completely garbage. They have some good parts in there, but there's really nothing that brings everything into like one location, whether it's education, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's jobs, resume writing, interview preparation, stuff like that. There's nothing in one area. And in 2020, when I transitioned out, I had this idea. And that's when, VetConnect became an idea. I was like, that'd be really awesome if there was something that really put all that stuff together. And Infuse came around, and really, that was when I had to like buckle down and learn program management and project management and how to actually make process flows. And I took my knowledge from like checklists and stuff like that of process building,
Yep.
we had to do, and especially in the nuclear field. But security forces in general is pretty checklist based, but the nuclear field and convoys is a little bit of a different animal when it came to that type of stuff. And I took that knowledge, and I remember, talking to my mom constantly on the phone, and I'd be like, Mom, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna even be able to learn this. And I remember I was talking to her one day, and she's like, have you ever thought about tracking the usage of these items? And I swear that whatever she said, that when she said that, everything clicked. And basically, we took that program, I built that program, and it was at 3 locations in Dallas, and then it went to 3 locations in Europe, and then we went to, I think we ended up with like 20 plus locations that we managed for Boeing for the logistics program, and worked my way up. But just little things like that, of like being able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And then doing odd stuff through Fuse. It was such a blessing, because Jennifer Schomburg, she was the CEO over there, and Jay Jordan, the COO, and but they really trusted me and gave me that ability, as a leader, to like really be able to take that ownership. And some people don't think that that's a good thing. I know that a lot of people, they'll get frustrated at their boss. Well, they just gave it all to me, and they're just like not giving me any help. Well, somebody needs to think about all the people listen to this. They need to think about that as actually a blessing, because that's going to teach you more
Yeah.
than you ever could have thought possible, if you will take that and with a grain of salt, and actually take that as a learning opportunity. So that's what I did, is I took that as a learning opportunity, because that's what really got me the ability to build Vet Connect, to learn how to write software requirements and security requirements and architecture, and how everything's like if then statements, like if you click this, it goes here, things like that, to where really it could, because I was not a software developer
Yeah.
by any means, right? I was just, I mean, as y'all have heard this story, like my story, like that wasn't even in the cards for me at all. And actually, I went through an RFP process for that because obviously I didn't think I could be a software developer. Um, but like I wrote all these requirements out. Like I spent, 2022 and 2023 really writing out and refining the requirements. So like, what did I wanted to see? Like, what do the wireframes look like if you click the login screen, if you signed in, if you registered, how do I keep it an ecosystem, secure, a veteran only ecosystem, and things like that. And then 2025 or 2024, I actually went, gave this to a company, and they quoted me some ridiculous number. It was like $1.2 million. It was insane, because it is a multi-level SaaS platform. I mean, you got your veteran portal, your employer portal, your admin portal, your support, like all this stuff that I built out. And it is a pretty high level, program. As But I handed it to him, and I'm so glad that they didn't build it and I didn't have the money because I can only imagine it would have been kind of like making a song. Because again, all this stuff ties together. To me, software is like building a song, because you got your different layers, you got your guitars, your vocals, your drums, your bass. Like to me, it's the same type of scenario, right? In my brain. So that's what I used it as, is my production type brain going into, okay, how am I going to present this and build this out? After they quoted me 1.2 million, it's obviously not going to build that or pay that. So that's when I discovered this software that actually will help you build. But I came with a strong baseline. Like I had all my requirements written out, I had all my wireframing, I had all this different stuff that I could, help do that. And then I went into learning like actually how to build this. And the way I look out from the security standpoint is that, similar to convoys, all this stuff, it all plays a part into it if you actually use your brain. How convoys are fought, you know what I mean? Like, and Brady, you'll know this, the different ways that and I won't say it on here, but basically how we fight off people trying to take a nuclear weapon, right? It's the same type of security system in my brain of how I would build software, right? So that's how that piece of the architecture went. And then when I actually saw that first landing page come to life, that's when I was like, oh, I can do this. I don't need somebody else to do this. I can build this myself. So
But I
it
think
was
that right there, what
amazing.
you just said
Yeah.
is one of the key lessons from this whole thing is, you know, just, take that step and try.
Yep.
Try to do whatever it is, whether it's build a platform, whether it's do convoys, whether it's do PT or whatever it
Yep.
is, just take a chance and try to do it
Yep.
before you give up and just ask somebody else. I used to tell
Yep.
people all the time when they would come and ask me for an answer or ask me, and Jason and Woody probably have the same, and you probably had the same thing as a supervisor. Hey, what does this mean? Or hey, what is this? Where do I find this? I'd be like, well, you can find it in the AFI. Go read it.
Yep.
Give yourself an opportunity to either be successful or fail. Don't let somebody else do that for you.
Yeah. And it was just so crazy. Like man, and honestly, you go from this military mindset to, I felt like my IQ went up a ton. Like being around, you are who you surround yourself with. And if you're around a bunch of alcoholics, you're going to be an alcoholic. You're around a bunch of, people that are doing stuff they're not supposed to, which is why, like, I loved music and stuff like that, but it wasn't where I saw my true group lying. So I,
Yeah.
transferred out of that and really focused on the business piece, because I feel like my like ability to like think and like outside the box and execution came so, you know, for being at Fuse and then eventually, coming into Boeing, to where it's such an awesome thing. Cause I literally got to stand up their continuous improvement operation there on the distribution side. It's been like, and I've only been there like a month, a month and a half, 2 months. But they would have never have trusted me if I wouldn't have proved myself for that past 5.5 years working for them.
Right.
But yeah, you got to be able to get out of your comfort zone. And I remember Brady always used to tell me this because I actually have it signed. It's in a plaque in a different room, but where I had him, because I basically applied for my master's degree at Liberty, and I had him sign it to where it said discipline equals freedom, right? So I still have that signed in a plaque. But that, and then I remember when I left the military, the last thing I told to everybody was quit. Do not be afraid. So basically, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that was, you know, and I got story after story after story what taught me that. But like that right there is key. Quit being comfortable. Go out there and be uncomfortable, and you will eventually be comfortable with making the uncomfortable decisions.
Yep.
And it's no thing. Like whether you're in front of executives or you're in front of problem that nobody else can solve, or you're just going to take that chance of doing something else. Because I know a lot of people in the military right now that probably don't want to be in there. But they're comfortable. Even when I was deployed, his name was Rob Raymond. He was a colonel out there, and he actually helped me record my first EP. Remember I'm Here EP, and he did all some of the engineering and stuff behind that. But he was an F-15 pilot, and I remember him telling me, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to get out or not, you know what I mean, or like try something else. And he's like, if you are thinking about it now, and you're only 7 years in, if I had to go back and do it, I would have got out. And I'm like, this is coming from an F-15 pilot, man. Like, this is like the coolest job you can possibly do. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if he's telling me that, then I need to quit being scared and go do it. And that's what kind of led me to that. Cause I'm sure, I don't know how long Woody and JC you was in, but like, you know, uh, he's, there's people that once you try to get out, they're like, oh man, you don't want to get out, dude. Like, come on, dude, you want to stay here. You want to stay here as
Yeah.
long as possible.
So Dylan, you hit on a couple things there, man. I did 24 years and retired. So and even as a mature senior NCO, chief master sergeant, I knew I was going to have a guaranteed income with my retirement. I knew I was going to have some VA compensation coming in. Dude, even then it was scary.
Oh yeah.
At that level, people think you got all the answers and you got everything teed up and ready to go. Like, man, I didn't know what I was going to do. And yeah, I knew I was going to be taken care of in some capacity with the guaranteed income streams, but it's scary, man. Like,
Yep.
and even at that level. So I guess I'd be interested to know, through your work with Vet Connect, like,
Yep.
how do you advise and mentor people who are scared to take the next step? And like in my case, like I didn't have the option. Like I had to get out. I had a medical issue. I had to retire. So it's like I'm not saying I was being forced out per se, but it's a big step when you've been doing it that long. So what do you say to people?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is scary. I mean, anybody that says it's not scary is lying through their teeth. I mean, it really is a nerve-wracking scenario. I mean, and one of the things I always have to remind myself, and I think, even with my parents, thinking that they have answers and stuff. Well, the key thing is that everybody is living their life for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So I have to remind myself.
Yeah. It
It
seems obvious, but sometimes it needs to be said, right?
Yeah, you have to like say that out loud sometimes. Like everybody is living their life for the first time, and people are going to be nervous and people are scared. But Vet Connect and where we're going now, and kind of got off track there, but this is going to be a game-changing platform, and you can mark this on, what day is this? Is it the 7th or 6th, or what is it? 7th, 7th, of August, 2026. That you're going to be able to look back on this podcast. It is 100% going to be a life-changing platform for people. It is ZipRecruiter and Indeed on steroids. There's a lot more to come on that. But my goal is to have everything in one place, to where all you have to do is fill out the manual verification form, or if you're a veteran, and it's verified through the VA, and it's a secure ecosystem to where you can have a platform and everything is there in one place. Are we going to have some growing pains? Absolutely. I've literally dealt with it today. I was working on it today, and I have like 1.6 million jobs on there, but some was duplicates, and I don't have that many anymore. But what I've done is like done something that even like some of these big companies don't do, like recruit military and all this stuff, right? How are they verifying veterans? How are we making sure that is a verified ecosystem for just veterans, right? Because there's a whole plethora of things that follow that too. People don't know that in business that these companies get paid for that, right? They get government money to hire minority groups, right? And
Yep.
and being a disabled veteran or a veteran is one of them, right? The other thing that's coming down on the veteran platform is obviously I'm gonna make something for spouses. I've already got it planned out and basically built out. I just haven't published that yet and announced that yet, but there's definitely going to be a place on there for spouses to where the veterans can be able to invite one spouse. Obviously, if they got 15 spouses, that's not my that's a whole other issue.
There's a red
right?
flag
So
there. Yeah.
they get one invite. They better pick the right wife. I guess all I gotta say. So or husband. So they're gonna be able to do that. And there's also going to be a marketplace on there for veteran companies, not to sell goods and services, but to advertise their companies. Because the other piece of this is that the employer side of the house, I've made it really streamlined, and I've got my first employer on there right now, SBS Creatives. It's a pretty big, good consulting or contracting firm for out of St. Louis. They just posted 2 jobs on there, and they actually paid pretty good. But it was pretty awesome to see that. But the goal is these companies are going to be able to come to one place to have a verified platform to go find these veterans, but not only veterans but businesses, right? Because again, they get these government contracts and say 10% of it is going to have to be a veteran owned business. How are they tracking that?
Yeah.
Right.
How are they tracking that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So then that's the thing is like there used to be, I know that Trump come out with, I think there was some more, I don't know what bill it was, but it's kind of like the GI Bill, right? So they're going to have to go back and track these funds actually going back to like going to these different organizations, right? So if they say they gave $100 million to veterans, well, they're going to have to prove that. Back in the day, they probably could have, white booked it or whatever they, pencil whipped it. They might have gave 99 million and the other million went somewhere else, right? So, trying to bring this all into like having a verified ecosystem, not only it gives veterans, right, to where you're only competing against your peers, because I mean, you're going to be competing against other people anyways, but to feel like and to have that group there to where that, okay, I got 288, I think it's 283 people right now, or something like that. That's on there now because we launched in March, and it's like over the past, I think, week we've gained like 83 members. But to know that they're only, right, that they're only a part of this, a part of this ecosystem. They have a networking community. There's going to be mentorship on there. They can look at health and wellness. They know that they can go look at education, but not only know that, but know that they post their business on there, that the employer is going to see that too. That if they post something on the network and community section, that employer is going to be able to look at that network and community section as well and see what these people are posting. So these businesses can adjust as needed, right? Or if the company needs to become a mentor, they have like mentoring sessions. Say a small company wants to do something for veterans, they can post that on there. Or they have events, things like that. Because Indeed, ZipRecruiter, they don't do that.
Nope.
They don't. Even LinkedIn, they don't do that. I mean, there's so many fake profiles on LinkedIn that I get constantly DM'd by. There's no governance behind that, and that's what I'm changing. And it's funny, I actually had some people from Recruit Military actually look at my profile page. It wouldn't show me who it was, but where they was from. So I was kind of interested to see that.
Hey, Dylan, quick question, talking verification here. So I actually went in and set my account up today. I have to go back in and complete my profile. But for the verification piece, I think all I had to do was put my name in, my address, and maybe a couple other just quick bits of information, submit, and within seconds, I was verified as a veteran. What are the ones and zeros going on in the background to make that happen so quickly?
So so there was 2 different places I'd looked before. Obviously, your famous ID Me and Sheer ID. Sheer ID wanted like $53,000 a year for me to use their service.
Whew.
I'm like,
A
I'm a
year?
startup. I don't have 50K to just throw around. And it's so crazy. Like when you're talking about all this money, and that gives me into my pricing with VetConnect and stuff, what I've done there to make it affordable. But anyways, ID me basically emailed me back and said, you don't have enough traffic. I'm like, well, no shit. I haven't launched it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the users yet because I haven't launched. I'm trying to get people verified. So out of the question. And probably I'll have to send you a screenshot of the email, Brady, because I definitely was a smart ass when I replied to that. So
Perfect.
I probably will never do business with ID Me unless they, really, have a sweet deal in there for me. But anyways, so I went through the VA Lighthouse program,
Okay.
which comes with its perks and all, but it also comes with an audit with a board review.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so I actually somehow, some way, actually passed Section 508 compliance from the government with the VA, and like I submitted it all to the VA, policies, terms and conditions. And then I had to, like, imagine me not being a software developer at all, but have learned. And I sat in front of about 6 developers presenting my platform to the VA, and somehow passed. But yeah, so it was very awkward. But again, be comfortable
Yeah.
be comfortable
Yeah,
being
man.
uncomfortable, right? You'll never know unless you do it. And it was about a 4 to 6 month process after that. So yeah, so I submitted it, basically all my policies, terms and conditions, all that good stuff that I wrote out for the program, and an overview of what the program was. And then they actually reached back out, and actually the process is, to me, for the government, pretty quick. And they reached back out and scheduled my review, and I had, like I said, I think it was like 6 people on there. It was like software developers and then like somebody over the VA Lighthouse program.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do live tests with, like, how I'm actually going to do verification. So I had to, like, build like a demo page, and they had like certain things that I had to input to where, say for your address, for example. So if you wouldn't have had your address and stuff matching exactly up to your VA profile, it wouldn't have verified you,
Okay.
and things like that. So it has to marry up. So basically, when you put that information, there's an API, and the best way I can describe an API is like kind of like a phone cord, right? So this information here is going through this phone cord, and it's basically verifying on the VA side that you're good. Then you do that call, and then it returns back that information that you're good to go, right? So basically, that's what I needed from the government, is that API key, to basically let me have it integrated in my system and actually make them live calls. So that's what really protected me as well. I don't have to have PII information for veteran verification.
Yeah.
It just goes through that system, automatically verifies to the VA, and then you can go through the whole process there. But
Yeah.
it's actually extremely quick.
Yeah. I mean, it was like literally seconds.
Yeah,
And
mine too. It was like, I was like, holy cow, that was really fast.
well,
Yep.
so just listening to you talk through that though, and then going back to the beginning of the interview when you were talking about, how the military kind of taught you how to execute,
Yep.
right? You can run circles around, Harvard grads, like, those kind of folks. Dude, that's a perfect example, because how many people would have just like, okay, I just can't do this. I'm just going to give up.
$50,000. I can't do it myself.
Yeah. I mean, you just
Yeah.
stuck with it. You found a way to execute it, and now it's out there and it's operational.
Yeah, and it was so weird because I mean, it was so cool to see, because I remember I was at a gala in downtown Fort Worth, and I got the email that the VA had verified me and I passed it, and I'm like, oh crap, it's that actually, yeah, that's real now.
It's
Yeah.
real
Now you got to do
It's
something with it, right? Yeah.
Like, hey, you
but I
made
think,
staff sergeant. You're going to be a supervisor.
right, like, oh crap, like it's a real thing. So once they sent me that email, but then even again, that brought up some other nerves too. It's like, okay, they send you that email. Now it's real. Now you really have to go execute. Like,
Yeah.
I've executed this piece, but now I got to go execute the whole thing, right? So, I'm just not a talker. I'm going to go do it. If I say I'm going to go do it, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Right. And unless, obviously Mother Nature or God, comes in and intervenes like American Idol. Right.
Right.
So it was a God thing keeping me away from that. And another thing I've learned is that if he keeps you away from something, quit trying to kick that freaking door open, because he's trying to keep you away from something that you don't need to be at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a
In
great
certain
point.
in certain scenarios. But anyways, yeah, that brought up a whole nother nerve. So actually, but what's helped me is I have to set deadlines for myself. So, because if I don't, even with the employer side, right, I could have kept pushing that off. Like, okay, well, I have to do this or I have to get it perfect. Well, it's never going to be perfect
Yeah.
ever. You can get as close to perfect as possible and something's still going to fail
Yeah.
every
Well,
time, right?
continuous improvement, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Literally my whole job.
Right.
So, and that, I think that mindset is like, okay, I've got to set a deadline. We're going to get as close to perfect as possible with my Six Sigma, that black belt there that I've, learned, and different stuff I've learned in business school. As I set that deadline, and then, I have not done a huge marketing campaign yet or anything like that. I've kept it really organic. And I think like I said, we had about 83 users, I think, within this past week sign up. And what that's allowed me to do is I'm trying to play it smart too, and you got to be strategic about it. It's like, okay, I'm working out small bugs
Mm-hmm.
on certain things. And then same thing with the employer side. One of the employer that's onboarded now, the person that the head of that is super sweet, super nice. And she's been communicating back and forth like, hey, like this might need to be a little bit better or something like that. Cause they truly believe in what the mission is.
Yeah.
To help. And that's key, is like, you don't want to partner with bad people. And, at the end of the day, it's meant there to be for veterans. And this is so once I got that, then it was going to execute. And I remember the night I actually went live, or I say night, it was like early morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 something in the morning when I went live. But that whole, when I was pushing that forward, I mean, it was like multiple long nights. I mean, I'm working full time, and Fuse was no joke. It was a very intense job because I was managing, 30 plus people, multiple different businesses. It wasn't just Boeing, it was other parts of the business that I was managing as well. I was working 15, 16-hour days some days. And it was because the program, was non-existent. And built that out there. But I was coming from work. I was coding and writing requirements and stuff till midnight, 1 in the morning. I would go to sleep and I'd go back and drive an hour into work every day. I mean, it was a constant thing, right? And there were so many different things that I could have made up excuses for. I was in school too.
Yeah.
But it was like one of these things I could have constantly been making up excuses, but people that make up excuses, they just never achieve what their goals are. You can't, it's just as simple as that. Discipline equals freedom. I mean, that is what it is.
Yeah.
It's
No.
as simple as that quote.
Dude, you really touched on something there. So I've actually gone out and I've got a couple side projects, and I've been involved with starting up a couple nonprofits, and those are things I'm passionate about. And there are times when I love doing those things, but a lot of times
Yeah.
those things pop up when I don't want them to.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't know, man, just listening to your story and listening to you talk through it, just like you said, discipline, just the mental discipline and the fortitude you have to stick with it and make it all work and string it all together.
You gotta be obsessed.
You have to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you're both hitting, we talk about the discipline equals freedom, and yeah, that's great. And, I can't claim credit for that. I stole it from Jocko. You know that, Dylan.
Right.
What do you know that? But it's true. And I used to, do Sarge's time sessions and talk about these things all the time, trying to get people to adopt or adapt to that mindset, because it truly does work. But what I have learned, and you guys have seen this, and I know you have, is everybody's not going to adopt or adapt to that mindset.
Yeah.
But that to me is okay. Everybody's their own person, but that's what sets, and I'm going to say that's what sets us apart from those people. But that's what those opportunities are knocking, and that's who's going to take those opportunities. and I've got to put my son to listen to this podcast because he's kind of going through that right now. He's a program manager at the University of Dayton. And, he got some feedback that, he needs to be a little more vocal, give a little bit more input. And he's growing into those things. But just like you, Dylan, and Woody and myself, all those things that he's experiencing now, we experienced at that age. We experienced in those phases of life that got us to where we are now and the things that we have done. But that didn't come without a cost. We all have sacrificed. We've all done things late hours at night, 15, 16-hour days, and times that we didn't want to do it. But in order to achieve your goals and dreams, you got to be willing to put that in there. You have to be, and that message that you guys are talking about back and forth is, I'm just reiterating what you're saying because it is a super valuable point to make to anybody that's listening, not just, the 22-year-old senior airman, but anybody that's listening, right? You got to be able to, as Dylan said, be comfortable being uncomfortable in order to get those goals and dreams going.
Well, and having the benefit of hindsight, and Dylan, I think you'll probably agree with this. Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. Like looking back throughout my career, Brady, I'm sure you would agree, Dylan. How many times did I get put in a position where, or be asked to do something like I've never done this before, and you just have to figure it out. And I didn't like being there when I was there, and I didn't always succeed. But again, benefit of hindsight, looking back, like those are truly the moments that, made me better, and those are the moments that make you comfortable, eventually becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. Right.
Yep. And they make for amazing, like it's almost nostalgic when you think about it, right? Some of these different things that we've all experienced and achieved, and it's like, dang, dude, like it's real now. You know what I mean? Like that, even the thought of Vet Connect was just, it was a cool idea, and then you put it on paper, right? You have your whiteboard sessions, or you're writing up all these different things on a Word document, and you're building different Visio projects, or just whatever, right? But then to see it work, it makes it worth every bit of that, that time, to see something actually work, like just this, even as simple as a verification process, right? Like something that simple. To me, it's amazing to even that, okay, I thought of that idea. I went and got the government compliance behind it, because I don't think government compliance is an easy thing to get, actually. It was for me, but I don't actually think that that's an easy thing to get. And then it works, right? And then you fix it as you go, right? You're on the fly, just like any business or anything, really, when you get into, like, even I'm sure in combat scenarios, you have these different special tier units, right? They practice this shoot house over and over and over and over and over again, and then you got the one guy you never expected to pop out and start shooting at you, right? So it's like, that you can, but the times that they went through that drill, or the times that you went through that drill, you just like, okay, well, that's not no big deal. Okay, just keep pressing, right? And then you get to the end of it, and it's like, okay, well, I'm here. But it wasn't easy getting there, but you just feel that sense of, like, pride and, like, relief almost. Makes for a great story. It really does.
Yeah.
So,
And as you guys were talking there for a couple of minutes ago, you know, you were talking about, the late nights and the stress and the things, tries to get it going. But now I bet, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan, it's probably a little bit more stressful now in a different way, because you mentioned you had 83 people sign up this week.
yep.
How many people do you have now on Vet Connect?
It's like 200. It's like 283. So the
you
majority
got
of
283 people looking at you to help them get a job.
Yep.
Through your platform. So that right there, great, awesome. You're helping people, but now they're looking at you for that.
Yep.
It's kind of like being that staff sergeant. You may have had 3 or 4 troops or whatever. You're being on convoys in the team. You're running down, what was it, I-80,
Yep.
or you're in the helicopter, or you're running tech school. Those people are dependent on you, and that feels good. But at the same time, you're like, man, I cannot fail, which drives
Yep.
you.
Yep. And it really does, because like even man, even earlier today I was stressing. I'm like, how did I have that many duplicate jobs on there, man? So like, cause I've wrote, wrote this stuff to where it deduplicates and it goes and scrapes and get rid of like jobs that it's expired. And somehow, I mean, I have like a couple of jobs on there that was like, had like 10,000 duplicates on there. So, I mean, it was like, little things like that, but you just can't give up. You
Yeah.
can't, you got to find that drive, because I know the bigger picture, right? The bigger picture is always outweighs what that, moment in time, feeling it does, right? Because that, and being able to see it from that 30,000 foot view is hard to get people out of. And some people's never going to do that. They want to do this the whole time, right? They
Yep.
want to be in their blinders. They don't want to see the 30,000 foot view or 10,000 foot view. And, you're not always going to get people there, but if you can somehow, as a human, take yourself out of that spot of being uncomfortable, and okay, what is the bigger picture of my goal here, right? And if you can do that, then you've already got half the battle won. If you can take yourself out of that spot, right,
Yep.
in your mind, and then you can work the problem. But I mean, that's with life. I mean, in general, it could be VetConnect, it could be Boeing, it could be what, bunker bullshit. I mean, it could be everything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's going to be times where you're going to have to take yourself out of, okay, what is the bigger picture of what my mission is? You
Yeah.
know?
And I'll tell you that the 4 o'clock, you're up till 4 o'clock and you're going to work. I mean, I'm getting inspired to do a little bit more at work and with this podcast. I mean, I really appreciate it, but yeah, man, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, because it all came with, you have this idea of like, you want to, because I think most good humans, right, like good people, and there's a lot out there. The news likes to highlight the bad, and all the social media likes to highlight the bad people. But there is most humans are good, right, and most humans want to help people and inspire people and make a
Yep.
difference. And I think you always have to remember that, like, hey, like, you're gonna have the hard days, or you're gonna have the weird things happen, but you got to always look at what the overall, provide technology, purpose driven technology, you know what I mean, optimizing futures, right? That's my mission statement: providing veterans with purpose driven technology. So that's my goal, is because you're gonna have the people be like, oh well, this is kind of like Indeed, or this is kind of like a ZipRecruiter, but I know in my head, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, you have to just keep pushing yourself to no, it's not. You know what I mean?
Yep. I can attest that it's not.
Yeah. So it's different, right? So, and you just have to keep. I mean, there's so many times I'm just like, I'd get up, get discouraged, or whatever, to where you almost just want to quit, but you just can't.
Yeah.
It's bigger than you at that point, because there's like you said, 283 people that now it's bigger than me. It's actually there, and it's a real thing. So they're looking to me to hopefully provide something different, because to me that's already a sign that there has been a need for a change that nobody's addressed.
Yeah.
Right.
For
So,
sure.
and,
Yeah.
and these big companies haven't addressed that yet. So, we're going to continue to grow. And, like I said, October 7th, 2026, we're going to be able to look at this podcast, and we're going to see where we're at in a year, and go from there. Because I have a feeling I'm gonna stir the pot a little bit, which I'm cool with. But it's going to be fun. So I think we're going to stir the pot a little bit for sure.
Yeah. So we're at about an hour and 40 minutes. So I'm gonna start wrapping us up here. I got a couple
Yep.
little um short, quick fire questions. Like I'm gonna start doing this at the end, but so I call these bunker BS rapid fires.
Yep.
So it's a one, maybe 2 word answer, and it could just be as without doing a whole lot of thinking, right? So here we go. You ready?
Let's do it.
Country music or military cadence?
I would say military cadence.
That's my guy.
Uh,
American Idol or BMT?
BMT. I mean, you just can't get the feeling, man. It's just, I mean,
All right. What scares you more, singing live or pitching to investors?
Man, singing live.
Ooh, I bet so, man. I don't even like doing karaoke.
Yeah.
But one leadership trait every manager needs.
Compassion.
Very nice. Very nice. One myth veterans believe about getting out.
They're immediately going to get offers.
That cannot be
No,
more true.
no,
Go ahead. You can expand that one.
really quick. And they're going to be like, thank you for your service. I don't care. That's literally what they're going to, I mean, like some people do, but it's one of the things that it's pretty hilarious. Like at the end of the day, nobody cares. You know, it was funny because I actually had somebody work underneath me. He was a major in the Army, but he was I was his supervisor, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely the think they're going to get offers or I got this. Like, no, you better be on your toes and you better be able to make yourself different and be able to pitch your own self if you want to be successful for sure.
I'm not going to lie or BS anybody. I kind of felt that way when I got out, and I had master's degrees and 30 years of experience, but I didn't have the experience I needed to do the job I'm doing. So I had
Yep.
to go get it. So even with that, I had to go get more
Yep.
certifications to do what I'm doing now. But awesome, man. One thing the military gets right that corporate America does not.
Structure.
One thing corporate America does better than the military.
Mm. um I'm trying to think of the right word. Basically the rank structure. Like if somebody,
Okay.
like basically like if somebody's like a tech sergeant or a staff sergeant, like you owe them something. You know what I'm saying? The civilian world is a little bit better at that. To be a little bit more humble with to me with management
Okay.
type level.
All right. Last one, and then I'm going to let Woody give any closing comments that he's got, then you, and then I'll wrap it up. Okay.
Yep.
Finish this sentence for us. Success is not.
Given.
There you go. I was going to, in my head, I went with guaranteed, but given is the same thing. To me, success goes back to everything you have talked about this entire time. Drive, passion, never give up, discipline, all those things. Sacrifice is how success is achieved. So, hey, man, I appreciate it. I'm going to turn it over to Woody, see if he's got any last minute questions or comments.
Yeah. Hey, I've got two of my own rapid fires for you. Then
Nice.
we'll wrap it here. As a country music guy, Friends in Low Places or Amarillo by Morning?
Honestly, Amarillo by Morning, because I've heard Friends in Low Places so many times I could never hear that song again.
I'm with you.
I feel you on that.
It's kind of like chicken fried.
It's like, dude, never. I don't want to get it. I don't want to hear it.
It's almost cliched, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like and the funny thing is, I can attest, I've never done that song as a cover one time ever.
Out of principle.
Yes,
I
just
love
because I can't stand it.
Man after my own heart. All right, last one, and this is probably the hardest one of the night. Air Force Chow Hall or gas station roller dog?
The Air Force Chow Hall, man, the FE, man, they could whip up some good omelets, dude.
It's not, they got good breakfast, right?
Chow Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Air Force breakfast for sure, and I think that's at any base I've been to. The Air Force breakfast ain't no joke.
I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
Hey, Dylan, dude, thanks so much what you're doing for veterans. Only 33 years old. You've got a lifetime of experience already rolled up in those 33 years. So much runway left. Look forward to following you and just watching you succeed from here on out the next several years. But you clearly have several passions, and you're a guy that follows through on your passions, and I really appreciate that. I wish I had 10 more of you.
Right.
how can we help you, or how can anybody who's watching this, how can we help you grow Vet Connect?
I think just sharing the gospel in a way, but yeah, just sharing the being able to repost, post on your social media, things like that. A lot of this stuff has been built organically just by LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff like that. I haven't really pushed a heavy marketing campaign yet. That'll probably be within the next couple of months. I'd say 350 to 400 veterans is really when I'm going to start pushing that. And my goal is to have 5 employers. Really demoing the platform before I really start pushing it, just to work out any of the kinks. But yeah, just talking about it is huge. Sharing it, using it, and let me know any feedback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If there's something that can be better, I'm not one that gets, hurt about that. That's something that I will always take that information and then go fix it. You know what I mean? That's just the truth, right? Anybody that can't do that, if you can't take corrective criticism, then you do not need to have your own business or be a leader.
Amen.
And that's just I feel that too. So yeah, just talk about it, use the platform, let me know what you think, things like that. And it's going to continue to get better. Yeah, y'all have definitely not seen the end of development. It's got a lot more stuff coming.
Nice. And where all can we find Vet Connect? Are you on all the socials?
No, not yet. So really it's gonna be LinkedIn is my biggest one right now. But it's vetconnectcareers.com is the main platform. Vet Connect was already taken up by a vet company in Australia. I think
Wow. Okay.
it was they had dogs on the page. So vetconnectcareers.com and then LinkedIn. I do have a Facebook page, but it's still in the kind of the works before I really start pushing it out there. And then like I said, 350 to 400 veterans, and then I'll have everything except for possibly TikTok. I don't know if I'll have a Vet Connect TikTok. I just don't know if I want to. I don't know yet. We'll see. So,
TBD. Yeah.
right, to be determined on that one.
Dylan, I'm not really going to piggyback on what Woody said. He said it all. We appreciate you, man. Do you have any final last words before we wrap it up?
No, I just really appreciate y'all having me on. Brady, you know what you mean to me and what you've meant to my career in the Air Force. I think that there's been just a few people that have really stood out. You have made a tremendous impact. You, Colonel Johnson, Ortiz, and King on my life and how to execute. So just really appreciate what you're doing here for the veterans. Woody, thank you for having me on. And yeah, we'll just keep moving forward, right? Keep pushing.
All right. Well, again, Dylan, we really truly appreciate you coming on, and couldn't be more proud to see where you're at and what you're doing and doing for everybody out there. So, the catchphrase for Bunker BS is, you all know it: do the work and lead better. Bunker BS out.